Hello, pop stars. Welcome to the latest and last episode of the Wind Down for this year, 2022, where we rewind the latest in entertainment and pop culture news. Tammy, can you believe that this is the last Wind Down for 2022?
And how much shit has been going on in 2022? I actually
Girl,
can. Like this been a roller coaster this year.
it has been a roller coaster. I can't wait till we get to, that part. Like, just when we recap our top news stories of the year, I was like, damn, that's going to be interesting. But there's a lot to get to. And, it's funny. After Thanksgiving break, I know people probably aren't aware of our internal schedule, but we were actually supposed to do this episode last week.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of glad we waited and to do our final episode now because shit, just there's a lot that's happened in the last week since and at first I was thinking, oh yeah, it won't be a lot, it'll be okay. And it was, started off just kind of slow because when we were talking, we were like, oh man, we should have done a rewind. And then I don't know, it's just a lot of shit has popped off, and most of it has been within the last 48, 72 to 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just crazy. So let's get to it. First of all, I want to wish a rest in peace to Christine McVie of Fleetwood Mac, who passed away recently. She was 79 years old. I wasn't a big Fleetwood Mac fan, but I love some old school Stevie Nicks. They were a bit before my time, but I love all sorts of music. So I've listened to Fleetwood Mac, but I never just became that solid diehard fan. But I have respect for them and their place in rock music and rock music history. Were you a fan of Fleetwood Mac?
Just one song.
Which song?
What's the popular song?
Oh God. Now you would ask me. I think I know what you're talking about. Their big one. And I can't even think of it right now. But yeah, okay. We have to look it up. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay. And
Yeah.
I don't know if this yeah, it's like we're horrible. But I I want to say also to the rest in peace to our World Cup dreams. Our men lost this morning to the Netherlands, but they should be really, really proud that they made
They
it to the
finally
knock.
did something.
Yeah, they made it to the knockout round for the first time in 20 years, especially after not qualifying for the last World Cup. So, and this team has nothing to hold their head down. Tyler Adams, who was the captain, he said that it came down to probably their inexperience. And all I can say is that this team is really young, and they are gaining that experience because not I don't think very few members, if any members of our national team this year played in the MLS. Most of them, their professional careers are overseas, where they're actually getting the experience from and playing against and with the best in the world. So, it's looking up for men's soccer, and of course, I'm ready for the next World Cup for the U.S. women's soccer team. So, congratulations! They should hold their head up high, know that they repped us well, especially considering they outlived everyone's expectations for our soccer team. And they went on when some of the other juggernauts in the sport did not. So, viva la football or viva la soccer, go USA. Yeah. Also, just really quick, there was an arrest made in connection to the death of Takeoff. They think they got the shooter, so we'll see how that plays out. The alleged shooter, let me put that out there. Of course, we have this thing called innocent until proven guilty. So hey, um, and Mexico, and something we talked about. Mexico. Did you see that Mexico is looking to arrest the male friend that was with I can't pronounce her name, Shanquella Robinson, and her death is being investigated for femicide. I was, and I had to look at that, and we talk about femicide, but the U.S. is one of the few countries in the world that doesn't designate homicides by femicide. Do you think we should start doing
We can't even get our shit together with normal homicide.
that?
I mean, it sounds good, but come on now. We got to first get our shit together with homicides before we start, breaking it down into subunits. Okay.
This is an NCT, which
Yeah.
we're gonna get to later. I agree with you. I was like, wow, to be able like it. So with any death of a woman, be bait would that be femicide? Like because let's face it, we do have a problem with women being the victims of abuse and murder and all those things. But I agree with you. But I'm glad the pressure that Mexico that the pressure that has been put on them again from Black Twitter, Black social media, and that we put on the government to put on Mexico, that they are not letting this case drop. I hope they find the person. But also, I think that her other friends who stood around and watched as she was being beaten, I think they should be held accountable as well.
Yeah, they videotaped it as well. I think that I also agree that they should be held accountable.
So as it progresses and we find out more, this is one of those cases that we are going to say we're going to keep it in the popper and try to keep up with it because I really think I really hope that she gets justice and considering that it's in a different country. um, we will see. It's hard pressed to get justice here, but definitely in a different country. So we will see. Danny Masterson is headed for retrial after the jury deadlocked on his rape charges. The one takeaway I came from that is no matter what you say about Scientology, they still have way too much fucking power. No matter how much we think a dent has been put into their panache, their prestige, how much the glitter has the sparkle has been taken off, they still have way too much fucking power. Like hearing some of those women, the stories of some of the women, especially the ones who were in Scientology, and how rape isn't even a crime in Scientology. Like they are made to go apologize to their abuser and their rapist. I was just like, what the fuck? Like it
So
was
it's kind of like the
crazy.
military.
Yeah. Oh shit. Damn. Shots fired. You're on one today. You are on one today. Way too. So I'm ready for when we get out of the tidbits and get into the real meat of this show. Shit. Damn. I like Timmy locked and loaded.
So funny.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We got this. Um. And then the Oath Keepers, the leader, the dude who shot his eye out, because he dropped the gun, he didn't know how to handle the gun, and I shouldn't sound so crass about that, but
Sounds like you had a
he
smile when you said that, Eddie.
that I shouldn't sound so crass about it.
Yeah.
I try when I can be pretty dark. You know that about me by now, and people don't realize that because of the voice and the demeanor. But I can be pretty dark, and I can be pretty cruel and petty. So I try to keep it under wraps or under control and not wish evil on people because I also believe in karma. You know, so I'm not, yeah, but he was found of guilty of seditious conspiracy. I definitely have a smile on my face about that. I
Ah.
really, really do. Um, so the sentencing hasn't happened yet. Him and several other members of the Oath Keepers, and just in case you've been living under a rock, they were part of the groups. Them and the Proud Boys were the ones who were responsible for the chaos on January 6th on the ground. They were answering their call to arms. I think we all remember when they were told to stand back and stand by. So, that was them answering that call to arms on January the 6th and creating a lot of that underground chaos. So it couldn't have happened to a more deserving person. And I can't say definitely that I am sad about that verdict at all. And it wasn't quite treason. So we know death. I don't know that the death penalty is on the table, but I know he's going to lose
No,
a
it's just
lot of
20
time.
years. Up to 20 years in prison is what's
Yeah,
on the table.
on the table. Yeah. So he's going to lose a lot of time and money. hopefully.
Was he the one
Uh,
crying about how if he only knew how much time he was gonna lose with his kids?
I don't know, because this is the dude whose wife left him and had to keep moving because he went batshit crazy.
Okay, so then
Um,
it's not him, but there's one who they say is now like trying to throw out like regret, maybe because they see the verdict of what's going on now, and that he's up for 20 years. And so now they say some of them is trying to change their tune, because if they knew now what they know, if they knew then what they know now, and that they would lose so much time with their kids. And it's like, boo hoo, cry me a fucking river.
yeah, like no. So if you knew now that that it was going to be a failed coup attempt, you wouldn't have done it.
I guess so. I guess that's the bullshit they trying to sell us.
Oh, okay. Well, in their world, Homeboy really did win the election, so I guess you need to see if he can get you an imaginary pardon. Um, but staying in the realm of politics, congratulations to Hakeem Jeffries. He is the first African American to ever be elected to congressional leadership, to lead the caucus. We've had others in leadership positions, like leading committees, but he's the first one to lead the entire caucus. So, what that means basically is that had New York not fucked up their districting, and the Dems had retained control of the House, he would be the Speaker of the House. So he's the most powerful um, representative or Democratic representative in Congress. So he's the minority leader, in other words. A job that Nancy Pelosi has held and wielded her sword mightily for a very long time. And I think that she could not have found a better successor. And he takes over with her blessing. And say what you want about Pelosi, she was a bad ass. She did her job, and she did her job well.
That's why they
And
hated her so much.
yes, and I'm so glad that she threw her hat. I'm glad that she's given up the leadership role. I think it's time. I think it's time for new blood in the party. But I'm also glad that he had her full support. And from my understanding, he was elected unanimously. So that's really good. So I'm looking forward to seeing the changes in the party, and they've already started. Iowa and New Hampshire have been taken out of Democratic primaries because they said that they do not fully represent the changing demographics of the country. And I'm like, oh, okay. I think we know what that means, that they are not flavorful enough, and we will leave it at that. So we can see what is going to happen there. And the Georgia runoff between Warnock and Walker, I still am surprised at how that ended up in a fucking runoff. It's going on. They did have to allow early voting. They did have to allow the voting after Thanksgiving. So and they said there's been a record turnout so far. The official election day for that is coming up on Tuesday. What is Tuesday, the 5th or the 6th? Somewhere in there. So God help us all. Please, please, please let Warnock win that election. Yeah. So, and that is where we are in politics. And this next one, the only thing I really wanted to say about this week was just that Kanye and Kim were pretty much divorced, and that I thought our big thing was just going to be going back and forth about how much child support he has to pay, $200,000, and based on his income, that's appropriate because child support's based on your income, and with him being a struggling maybe billionaire, um, it was fine. And then Kanye out Kanye'd himself and told the whole fucking world to hold his beer. Like, dude, he what the fuck is wrong with your boy?
Ah, ah, ah. No, 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 Eddie. Okay? Don't you dare. Okay? Because the community has finally started to turn their back. I kicked Kanye out of the community years ago.
Oh, you took his black card. Wait, girl. Yeah. Like, so last, and I was looking at the notes for last episode. That's when the real big anti-Semitic shit just broke, and he started using sponsorship. Adidas, Gap, Balenciaga, who have their own shit show brewing right now. Um, and so okay, it was all a little quiet for a moment, and then um, he doubles down. It's a big deal. He goes and he's invited to spend Thanksgiving at Mar-a-Lago with Trump, and he takes his new BFF, Nick Fuentes, who's a white supremacist, white nationalist, Holocaust denying, Hitler loving piece of shit. Um, oh, but let's not forget he's actually announced that he's running for president again in 2024. Um, but so everyone was going in on that about how, he was having dinner with the former president, and him and Trump supposedly get into it because he supposedly asked Trump to be his running mate. And of course, Trump is no one's second, I guess. I don't know. Um, but then he goes on Alex Jones um, and he doubles down. And yes, this is the same Alex Jones who just filed bankruptcy because he wants to try to get out paying $1.4 billion to the Sandy Hook survivors that he slandered and libeled for the past, 10, 12 years?
10
So
years.
he goes on, huh?
10 years.
10 years, yeah. So he goes on his show and he triples down about how much he fucking loves Hitler and he was great and blah blah blah. So much so that he makes Alex Jones uncomfortable. So if you can make a man who has slandered and lied about people losing their children, who knows no bounds, uncomfortable, then that lets you know that you're pretty much at the bottom of the pond, scum pool. Um, so yeah, but I just have a question. Oh, wait, we're not finished. There's more. I know there's more. So, then the key person who made his money off of apartheid and new owner of Twitter, who's proving how much of a genius he really isn't more and more every day. Um, he lets Kanye back on Twitter only to kick him off of Twitter because Kanye then post a tweet of a swastika, of a Star of David within a swastika. But it wasn't that actually got him kicked off of Twitter. That was the excuse that Musk used. He only kicked him off or banned him once he tweeted a picture, some unflattering picture of Elon Musk. So I have a lot of questions wrapped up in here. I'm getting to my questions part of this. I just wanted to give you the rundown. And I think that, oh, and on top of that, he announced that he walked in on Chris Paul banging his wife when they were married. So, there's a lot to unwrap in all of that. Chris Paul is a basketball player. Um, so, I have several questions. Yeah, there are questions thrown up in there. First of all, does your boy not realize that Hitler would have thrown his ass in the gas chamber too?
Probably. He realized it.
He knows that he just don't care, or
Yes.
oh, okay. So and you just said that the community is coming around. Well, there's some of us who are just as ignorant as the day is long, and they're still caping for Kanye and still caping for Hitler, and out there fake quoting Hitler that he loved black people and he felt our cause. Do they not realize that Hitler's precious race was whites only? Like Hitler wouldn't have even qualified to be in his blonde haired, blue eyed only um, utopia. So like I don't get it. Why where is this all coming from? Can you help me with that?
No, I can't help you with that, Eddie.
Like
I ain't got Kanye in no speed dial.
like I'm I'm truly baffled. And if you notice, I never once mentioned the mental illness because it doesn't matter. Like it really does not matter. Like it has nothing to do with this at this point. Um,
I think so. You know, listening to my favorite podcast on a weekly basis. And I was listening to Van Jones on Higher Learning, and he was talking about how, because this really gets started when Kanye did his interview at oh my god, what is that tabloid place called?
TMZ.
TMZ, thank you. When he does his interview at TMZ, and what Van Jones says on his podcast is, because he was there, and he was one of the ones who was pushing back at Kanye when he said, like, slavery was a choice and everything like that. But what he says is, what we don't realize is during that interview they cut a lot of stuff. And so he said, like, during the interview that he did with TMZ, he was throwing out a whole bunch of anti-Semitic stuff. So just like he was, downing on black people and slavery and everything, he was doing the exact same thing to Jews, and he was doing the same thing about the Holocaust and Nazism, and being very anti-Semitic, and they took that out, and they cut out all his anti-Semitic statements. So a lot of people are thinking like this is a new development for Kanye. And what Van Jones says is it's not a new development. He was like, it's been years. Like Kanye has been anti-Semitic for years. It's just nobody's editing this out anymore. He's being very specific, and he's being very direct on what his viewpoints have always been. So people shouldn't think that this is a new development for Kanye. It is not a new development. I also agree that we can no longer use his mental illness as an excuse. I understand that it does play a role, but at this point, you are an adult and you've got to take responsibility for your actions. And Kanye West has gotten to the point where he doubles, triples, quadruples down on these viewpoints. The more we push back at him for these viewpoints of being anti-Semitic and anti-black, the more he puts his foot down on them. And he even goes in even harder on these opinions. And so even the ones who are still supporting him within the community, in a majority of the community, it just so happens the people who are always on the wrong side of history are always seems to be the loudest ones, or the ones who get the most attention sometimes. And so, but majority of the community ain't about Kanye anymore. Like, Kanye can go fuck himself.
Yeah, the ones who always think anytime you call out a black man for being wrong, you're racist or you're siding with the quote unquote man, or the one you call when you call out black people for doing dirt, holding them accountable, then you're just picking on the black man or your side. I get that. And to go with your point, Van Jones, in the podcast, Rolling Stone did an excellent expose. And if I can remember when the episode goes up, I will post it.
Oh, Van
Um,
Lathan, sorry.
Van Lathan, sorry. Oh, yeah, because Van Jones is a
Yeah, no. I
problematic
was
piece
like
of
Van
shit.
Jones. I was like, no, it's Van Lathan. I'm sorry, y'all. Higher
Yeah,
Learning,
sorry.
Van
And
Lathan, Rachel Lindsay.
but yeah, Rolling Stone has an excellent expose, and talking about how it has been years. Goes back as far as when him and Kim first got married. The way he treats his staff at Yeezy, the Yeezy company. He made one of them, and during an interview, watch a sex tape, watch just regular pornography, and then interspersed it with videos of him and Kim. That he has been anti-Semitic, that there have been drugs around. Just it's a lot. Like it, and so it was like, wow. NDAs covered up a lot, but now that a lot of those NDAs are losing their power and not covering up the abuse, They're mostly just covering up the business aspects of what goes on, but they're not that people are not able to hide their abuse behind NDAs anymore. A lot more is coming to light. Um, and so yeah, it's a lot with him. Um, so it's just, and the fact that the other thing, one of the other questions I have, and these next two are going to kind of go hand in hand. The fact that he, and it kind of goes along with him and Herschel Walker, the Republican Party trumps them out to be the token Negroes and acceptable Negroes to show that they're not supremacists, to prove, hey, we're not racist. Look at how much we love Kanye and Herschel. Okay. Um, he is the one who is taking all the heat from the dinner and bringing Nick Fuentes to um, to Mar-a-Lago. He is the one who is taking all the heat for being anti-Semitic. When the person who hosted the dinner, who let them in, basically has just said, "Okay, cool." The only thing is like, well, what was he thinking? Like they keep giving that person an out, but it's like, fool, you don't even realize that you're the token that's being scapegoated for all this bullshit. Um, so it's just it's so much to unwrap there. Like if we could do a whole show on that, if either one of us had the stomach to, and I really, really don't.
But
um,
I do have
but go ahead.
one thing to say about that. So I think that we do need to stop thinking of it as in Republicans are using them to be the token black men, right? What I'm starting to see is, and what my thoughts are on this is, they're not showcasing them to show us that, look, see, black people do support us. I don't think so. I think what Republicans are now doing is they're showing Kanye and Herschel Walker to prove a point, that the stereotypes that their supporters have of us is right, that we are inferior, that we are ignorant, that we lack intelligence, okay? And that goes back to the mindset of, hey, this is the reason why they were slaves for hundreds of years. I don't think it's that, because if they really wanted to showcase that black people were supporting them, they would be, even right now, pushing out Tim Scott, who still is identified as a black Republican, and he's an elected senator. And instead of doing that, which they were doing it before, but now you got Herschel Walker and Kanye West, and this mindset is we have to acknowledge the fact of their base is extremely racist. Their base is based on, their thought process is on stereotypes of black people, stereotypes of Hispanics, stereotypes of different religions, different other ethnicities and races, is on stereotypes. What Kanye West and Herschel Walker is doing is they're proving that the stereotypes and the thoughts that they have about black people are correct. That is what they're doing. And so all the negative aspects, we are criminals, we lack intelligence, we are stupid, we are dumb, we are
We'll fuck
ignorant.
anything that moves.
Yes, we will do that. That want is to fuck a white woman. All of that goes into the fact that they are continuously, no matter how anti-Semitic Kanye West is, pushing him out there. Even as they're making him a scapegoat, they're still giving him a platform. Why? Because this is what their base will consume. And we have to now start acknowledging, and that is the reason why we need to fully turn our backs on these characters that are being put out there and saying it like, oh, this is what a black man is. Because it is not what a black man is. It is not what the black community is. But that is what they're showcasing to their base. This is for their base, to prove their ignorant and racist thoughts right. And that is like where I am currently when it comes to the Kanye West and the Herschel Walkers of today.
I agree with you. I don't disagree in that statement at all. And when I say token, because gosh, the Reverend, I don't know if you saw that clip when he went to the pulpit, and he basically said the same thing about how they chose Herschel Walker because he fits their narrative of what they try to sell us to be. And and it's someone who is a puppet, and you see that when now when Herschel goes on news shows like Fox, you have Lindsey Graham. He has a babysitter, and they won't even let him talk. The only time he can talk is when he's at a rally that he's doing on his own. But when he's on a show, they have a mouthpiece there basically talking for him, because they're afraid of what is going to come out of his mouth. So, and like I said, you said it, you summed it up great. And I think people, um, and I hate it because even those few that still support within the community, the few that still cape for Kanye more so than Herschel, they're legitimizing it, and it's like when they come to his defense, see, black people love us, and it goes back to that whole thing that we're just this monolith, we're just this homogenous group where we all think, feel, act, and look the same, and it drives me fucking crazy. Okay, so here's my next question having to do with this, and then that idiot. See, I know how much you hate talking about this dude, so I tried to intersperse him into this conversation as much as possible because, believe it or not, I hate talking about the ass wipe too. um but since he owns one of the biggest communication companies in the world, and that's what we have to start looking at social media as communication companies, and maybe if they did that, they would get more, they would have more regulation. And the reason why I say that is because that is how a lot of us interact. That is how a lot of people get their news. Like, I'll see something, I don't fuck with Facebook, I really don't. But I'll see something on Twitter, and I won't necessarily agree it and take it as news, but I'll go look up and say, oh, okay, I'll go to a real news source, or I look at the sources on Twitter and I see where it's coming from. But that, like, you have New York Times, NBC, ABC, CNN has fallen, just become pretty much a joke. I don't know what the fuck is going on there. But so I will say that's how a lot of people get their communication. But this fool, so he lets Kanye back on, and his whole thing when he takes over is it's just going to be this bastion of free speech, or what he deems free speech to be. And he lets the Mango Mussolini back on, although the Mango Mussolini is too happy to continue his grift over at Truth Social, whatever the fuck his site is called. So he really hasn't tweeted, but he could if he wanted to. Um, so you're free to say whatever you want. So he bans Kanye on the premise of him promoting hate speech. So my question is, doesn't that make him a hypocrite and go against what he uh of what he deems to be free speech?
That's rhetorical, right?
I take it by your answer that that question would be yes. Okay, cool. It can be. I'm just throwing it out there. My bad. Yeah, but so you get my point though, right?
Yes, I definitely do.
Okay. So he was trying to go to war with Apple, because Apple for a moment has stopped advertising. I think they put him on notice because of just all the quote unquote changes that he thinks are for the better. That he basically, there were some rumors that they were thinking about taking Twitter off of the App Store, and we know if that happens, Twitter is DOA. There's no other way he's going to recoup his money. But so, and then just recently, this happened just today. They think they cracked the codes to Hunter Biden's laptop, and some of the things that there's this whole big thing about both parties asking them to take stuff off of Twitter before he owned it. But here's the gist of what they think is in Hunter Biden's laptop. Are you ready? Years and years of conspiracies about how this laptop was going to bring down the regime and how it was the key to everything. You want to know what was in the laptop?
Go for
Hooker connect, basically dick pics and coke blows,
it. And what?
dick pic and drug pictures and hookers. So it's like, dude, this is the big reveal. They asked you not to show what little y'all got the laptop, and it was dick pics and hooker connections and uh him doing blowing coke off of some hooker's ass or something. Like, really? That's the whole that yeah.
That's the
So
conspiracy.
that's the conspiracy, and he hyped it up. He hyped it up. That was the whole big treasure trove of see what Twitter's been hiding all these years. We know, and I'm like, oh god. So yeah, that's the conspiracy. But anyway, Twitter continues to be a shit show. I just go there because it still has some good stuff, and there's still people who post there, but I know just that the ownership is shit, and until I figure out till it actually dies, and I know what's the next site to pop up, whatever. Um, so anyway, earlier, did you see the story about Balenciaga? Did you see the campaign where
I didn't. I
they,
heard about it, but I didn't see it though.
yeah, basically, I don't know how this campaign got past legal. I don't know who in their right mind thought it would be good to advertise bondage teddy bears. And at first, when I looked at it, I'm like, when I saw it, and I'm like, okay, I know a major fashion house, and I know sometimes they push the boundary, especially in fashion, between art and good taste, and especially for the shows, the couture, the artistry of it, and some of their ad campaigns. And I'm like, I know it cannot be this bad. It just has to be somebody being hyperbolic, or maybe somebody taking it a bit too far. But no, it really was a bondage bear, and kids were holding it. And I was like, think of Madonna back in her. You remember when did Madonna go through her leather bondage phase?
The 80s.
Yeah, think about that. Like after Material Girl, but when she had like the truth, I want to say it was almost Truth or Dare or whatever.
Wasn't that her Vogue age? No.
Maybe a little bit pre-Vogue,
Yeah.
somewhere in between
Yeah.
there, but that's what I want you to think about it. I was like, oh god, this is bad. And I think what made it worse, like, it wasn't the bear, wasn't the fact that the bear was in bondage leather or whatever. I think it was the fact that there were kids holding it. Was in a, like, the kids that were in the campaign. Does that make sense?
That was it completely. Like if it was adults
Adults, it would have
doing
been
it,
different.
nobody would have cared.
And so my thing is how and so when I saw it, I'm like, okay, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, when I first saw what was going on, because I'm like, ooh, Balenciaga, like I normally like Balenciaga, and I'm like, what? I know. And I was just thinking, I know that this is someone just mad because it's a teddy bear. I know it can't be that bad. And then when I actually went and saw it for myself, I'm like, how the fuck did this get past legal? Like, what sane adult in their right mind thought that this would make a good campaign? You can't even in good art. Like, and then I started geeking out because started thinking about that. Yes, I really did. You can ask Tammy when I'm about to say this. I started thinking about back to the Supreme Court cases on on pornography and child pornography, and I'm like, dude, this crap. See, and you're laughing because that's
Yes.
where my mind went. And I'm like, dude, this is just in bad taste. Like, it's so bad. So I'm saying this to say Balenciaga deserves all the smoke that they're catching. And I'm surprised that the art director even still has a job. Like, there is no investigating, dude. Whoever signed, everybody who signed off on this campaign, they should be out of a job. From the photographer who took it to from the photographer who took the pictures. If you weren't in house, you would never work for my company again. To the lawyers who signed off on this shit, thinking that it was okay. to the art director who even came up with the concept, and the people in the meeting who did not push back, everyone would be out of a fucking job. It's just a bad look. So bad. Um, so we will see what happens with all of that. Um, and you're not a big fashion person as far in the sense of like labels and brands and the couture of it all, are you?
I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, that's
I mean,
one
I
of the
know the
places.
brand. I do know the brand, but I'm not even familiar with their like the trends of the brand or their style or any of that. I don't watch like the fashion shows or anything. I just know the fashion house. Like I do know the
Okay.
fashion house.
Yeah, like and I'm all in on it. I love fashion, I love couture, and I love the artistry of it all. And I would love one day to be able to go to New York Fashion Week, Paris Fashion Week, to go to like all the fashion weeks and just sit and geek out and just get all girly over clothes, and not even just girly, but just that's a bucket list dream of mine, to do that. Okay, so moving on to sports, we kind of talked about the men's team. The big one. Did you see the article or the thing about LeBron and Jerry Jones and his response?
um, I didn't know LeBron was part of that. I thought it was just on the response that LeBron James gave on the fact that they didn't ask him about the Jerry Jones question photo.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Um, huh? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Um, so yes, I did hear about it, about the photo, and I do want to actually read the article. I hear the article is actually really, really good on going even deeper into why they post, like why that photo is in the conversation, and how the article goes along with the photo that they posted. um yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Jerry
I
Jones.
didn't even like. That's how much I don't pay attention to Jerry Jones, because he is who he says he is. Like, just to give you an idea, he donated over $500,000 to reelect the governor of our fine state. For those of you who don't know, first time listeners, we live in Texas, and we are subjected to another, I don't know how many years of Greg Abbott's horrible running of the state. He is also one of the main owners who came out and spoke out vehemently against Colin Kaepernick, from the beginning to the very end. One of the main owners who was opposed to him getting back in the league. One of the main owners who said that what he was doing was unconstitutional, and speaking out. So a couple of years ago, after 2020 and gosh, George Floyd, when everybody, when the NFL, especially the NFL, the NBA, we know that what they were doing was not performative, because the NBA has always been on the side of standing up for civil rights, backing its players when they do so. So to me, they will forever be a league that is generally on the right side of history, and always rising to the moment and encouraging their players to do so. But so when the NFL, they all took the knee in for the season when they had the Black National Anthem performed. It was performative, and I think we even talked about that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And so Jerry Jones, the person who had been so against his players taking a knee, anybody that takes a knee from my team, they gonna be fired, sitting in the bench. They won't be a cowboy anymore. It sounded something like that. That was what you.
Oh my gosh, Petty.
But um. So I will have to say, having said all that, he is who most people think he is or believe him to be. Um. Look, what did the guy who was running for governor say that time? I'm not saying he's racist, but um, he. So when I saw the picture of him as a 14 or 15-year-old outside of Little Rock Central High School protesting the Little Rock 5. I Let me say I'm not surprised. And then Stephen A. Smith, excuse me, who sometimes Sometimes he gets it right, and sometimes he's just problematic as fuck. His take on this was problematic as fuck. Um, on one point, it goes to should you still hold him to be the same person he was at 14 or 15? No, I get it. I understand the time. I know what was going on back then. But I'm holding him to be the person he's shown me to be ever since I've known who the fuck Jerry Jones is, if that makes sense.
I agree.
So, um, so to me, it's not one or the other. I'm not holding him to account for what he did when he was 14 or 15 years old. I'm holding him to account to the person I know Jerry Jones to be, who I've seen him to be. Um, at this point in his life, 65 years later. And let me say, not much has changed except he's become a hell of a lot richer. Okay. Um, and he has more power that he doesn't necessarily wield in the best ways. Let me leave it at that because that could be a whole nother conversation. So I agree with LeBron when he was saying basically anytime something happens with a black person, Kyrie, even if it's in sports or outside the realm of sports, y'all want to come ask me. But when a white person does something that affects black people, that has to do with black people, especially something like this, y'all are crickets. And I got it. I'm like, whoa. And honestly, when I saw this story, that was the first time I'd seen the picture. Because like I said, I try to pay as little attention to Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys as fucking possible. But so do you agree with LeBron's take on that? I guess is where I'm going with all of that.
Um, so when I got introduced to the story and I was listening to it and hearing like both sides of it, not on the Jerry Jones thing. I think everybody, I think we can agree with you on what you said. We're not holding him accountable for what he did when he was 14, 15. We're holding him accountable for the fact that he has not shown any progression and any type of growth from that time in the 65 years as he has accumulated more power and wealth. Um, what I do think is that um, LeBron, you play basketball, and Jerry Jones is an owner of a football team, and they don't ask you about every single racial issue that is going on in sports. When there is a racial issue going on in baseball, I've never heard them asking LeBron James his opinion on it. If there's a racial issue in another sport that he doesn't necessarily, and not to say that he can't have an opinion, because that's, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is I felt that like he overstepped a little bit in thinking that it was a conspiracy in a way. Now I do agree with him on the news isn't covering Jerry Jones and the photo and the article the way that they should. I agree on that. But on the whole, oh, they haven't asked him a question, but they asked him a question for Kyrie. Kyrie is a basketball player and he was your teammate at one point. And so, of course, they're going to ask you questions about someone within your sport. But I can understand if they didn't ask him any questions about football. Because it wasn't necessarily like a Colin Kaepernick thing. It wasn't like a Colin Kaepernick thing. It wasn't, kneeling or, George Floyd kind of thing. Not necessarily wasn't that kind of situation. So I can understand why they didn't get into the path of asking him the question about Jerry Jones and the photo. But I also think that he really wanted them to ask him the question so that he could give his opinion on it. I guess he was waiting for that question to come up and it just never did. So he called them out on it. But I can understand why they didn't ask him the question about Jerry Jones and the photo.
And I understand what you're saying, but they do ask him a lot of questions about black shit. And I'm say that.
But I don't consider this to be a black thing though. Like it's not a social, like it's like they ask him a lot of questions when it comes to social justice. So
but
I get that.
and I think that was his point about the whole civil rights issue. And he was a lifelong Cowboys fan. Until, Jones started showing his ass around the Kaepernick thing. And I agree with you. I understand both. I understand what you're saying, and I agree wholeheartedly that they are not covering it the way that they should be. Um, and so, um, and I agree that that he probably did just want to give his opinion, and he found a way to insert it in there. But I think also, um, he it was kind of media savvy because he it got people to talking about something that they had not been talking about, especially the way that they should be. Um, but yeah, I agree. They don't ask him about every sport, um, and I think part of it is stop picking and choosing. If you're going to ask the questions, ask the questions. If you're going to make me the black ambassador for sports, then make me the black ambassador for sports, but don't pick and choose. I guess I don't know. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Anyway, what else? Oh, okay. So Chris Hemsworth. This is something we talked about. Oh, did you have something else you want to
No, 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 go ahead.
add? Chris Hemsworth. We talked about this. He found out that he was genetically predisposed to the Alzheimer's gene, which means he may develop Alzheimer's in the future. And there have been rumors that he was retiring. He said he's not retiring from acting. He's just taking a sabbatical. So, um, what do you think about that? I'm glad
Maybe
he's
it's
not
his.
retiring.
Maybe it's his way of not playing Thor anymore.
Maybe.
You know, because Chris Evans is gone because he's one of the originals. So who's the original? So it's him, um, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr. We can put Don Cheadle in that, and then Scarlett Johansson, right? Like those are the originals. And Scarlett's gone, Robert Downey Jr.'s gone, Chris is gone. So it's kind of like Don Cheadle was kind of like the sidekick kind of character. So him and Mark Ruffalo, and Mark Ruffalo ain't gonna get a movie. So maybe it's his way of kind of getting out of the Marvel universe because that takes a toll.
It does take a toll. And Zoe Saldana, I kind of get what she was saying, but sometimes the way she says things, it really like, and I understood kind of what she was saying. She was saying that playing those in Marvel uh, for 10 years, it stifled her creativity during those big box office tent poles. And then I was like, but now you're going to do the Avatar series again. So I was just like, yeah, okay. I understand what she's saying, and a lot of other people are saying that I Marvel takes a toll because of the commitment, and how often they shoot the movies, and even though you may not be shooting your movie Thor, for example, you may have to turn around and be available for a cameo in this movie or to do the Avengers series or something like that. So I get it from the standpoint that it's time consuming, but to say that, okay, this takes so much of your time, and then to go be in another major a major franchise, or tentpole franchise, that was just kind of like, okay, what?
Avatar and Marvel aren't on the same level.
Yeah,
Like Avatar, how long did it take Avatar to finally get his second one out? Even though it was supposed to come out when COVID hit. Um, but with Avatar, that's a different beast. Like I understand what she's saying on that because, and people may not, they don't like hearing it, but like Marvel is, and they've said it multiple times, you're just like movie after movie, you're just like literally generating movie after movie. It literally, you can't do anything else when you are in a Marvel, when you're in a Marvel universe. You cannot do anything else. It's very hard. You have to work your way up to be at a tier, at a level where you can request that they work around your schedule to be able to shoot smaller movies. And so I can fully understand that when you have to commit to 10 years or you commit to a certain number of movies and you can't really do anything else. And I mean, you know, like they ain't Oscar scripts. Okay, it's not Oscar scripts, it's big blockbusters. So I can fully understand her saying that it stifled her creativity, and maybe even stifled her career in a way. She had other movies that came out, but I can understand her saying that it did stifle in a way her creativity on how much dedication you have to put into the Marvel universe compared to Avatar. That's a whole different thing. I feel like Avatar is a whole different cinematic universe and a whole different level on the type of movie that it is, and the type of level that Avatar is compared to the Marvel universe.
So, would you agree with Tarantino when he says Marvel
Yes.
actors are not movie
Yes.
stars?
Wait, they what?
That Marvel actors are not movie stars.
What does he mean by like not movie stars though?
Like Leonardo DiCaprio, and I'm not just saying that because I love Leo, but Leonardo DiCaprio is a movie star. Christian Bale is a movie star. Charlize Theron is a movie star. Nicholson, Pacino, they're movie stars.
Yes, I can agree with that. I can agree with that. On so I was talking to one of my friends, and what she said was, we were kind of having this conversation a little bit, and what she said was, Marvel, the actors don't make the role. Nobody is going to see a Marvel movie because of the actor or actress that is playing the role. They're going to see Marvel because of the character that they're playing. And there's a difference. In You be like, oh my gosh, like Chris Evans is playing Captain America, I gotta go see. No, no, no. Like nobody was going to the theater to watch Chris Evans play Captain America. They were going to the theater to watch Captain America. And so, did Marvel make them extremely rich? Yes. Did Marvel open up the doors for them to have other opportunities? Yes. But I think what we need to take consideration is the fact that you had the main actors in the franchise who have now phased themselves out of it so that they could have that. That's the reason why Chris Evans did it, Robert Downey Jr., so that they could have the opportunity to do other things and actually make a name for themselves away from the Marvel universe, because it was stifling like I maybe Zoe Saldana said it, but in a way that applies to Scarlett Johansson, and that applies to Chris Evans, that applies to Robert Downey Jr. Where, I mean, granted, you can't necessarily be typecast when you're playing in like the superhero movie. You can't be typecast in that. But in a way, if it wasn't a superhero movie, they would be typecast. It would completely destroy their career in being given opportunities to really show their acting chops. Robert Downey Jr., I consider to be one of the best actors in Hollywood. But a lot of times people who are going to the movies now don't understand that. They're not gonna acknowledge the fact that he's one of the best actors in Hollywood, because all they know of him is that he's Iron Man. They're not going out and seeing what else has he acted in, what else has he been in to show his real skill. I consider, because we knew who Robert Downey Jr. was before he was Iron Man, and we can acknowledge his talent ahead of time. But for others, that is the reason why you have other actors and actresses who have turned down the Marvel universe, because they did not want that. They didn't want that stamp on their career where that's all they would be known as. It's kind of like Vin Diesel, right? Like Vin Diesel will always be known as the Fast and Furious franchise. Like that's it. That is his career.
And trust me, and if we're being, that is a good
Well,
thing
yeah,
because he's not the best actor,
yeah,
and
yeah.
God help
Darn
him.
it, gosh darn it. He is the wrong.
So,
My
and,
bad. I realized after I said it, he is the wrong person to put out there. Oh gosh. I
And the one thing I can credit Marvel for is it, and I get what you're saying. And like I said, I get what, and for me, sometimes I'm not a what you say, it's a how you say it type person. So when I read the quote and I read the article, to fully understand what she's saying, I'm not saying I necessarily disagree with Zoe Saldana. I'm just saying that a lot of times, even when it's not up to selective editing, she says the right thing in the wrong ways. Does that make sense?
yes.
Okay. So I can agree with that. And I can, like I said, I could understand how it would stifle some of your creativity and take in. I think maybe, time consuming would have been a better word, because one of the things that people get from that is that these actors, when they say stuff like that, is that they sound so ungrateful. Because it Zoe Saldana was an actress, and we knew of her, and she had some good movies. Like, I love Colombiana, but let's face it, she wasn't a marquee A-list actress before the Marvel universe. Um, and I get that she probably had to turn down some movies, some things that she really wanted because of her time in the Marvel universe. I get that. Um, Robert Downey Jr., amazing actor. One thing I credit the Marvel, and he does too, is it actually gave him a second chance, because of all the stuff that his addiction led him through and all of the antics. He was pretty much persona non grata until Marvel took a chance on him to launch the MCU with Iron Man. And thank God that they did, because I can't imagine anyone else playing Iron Man. I'm interested to see what happens with Ironheart, but I'm glad they went a completely different way and actually are rebooting the character with Ironheart rather than trying to do another Iron Man. So in that instance, and after Iron Man 1, especially Iron Man 2, he is the only reason why I watched the rest of the Iron Man movies, because they sucked. Um I and I think I am happy that, like Captain America, I'm glad that it's going on, but um that they're not trying to make another a person play Rogers, Steve Rogers, that we know the transition from this new Captain America. So in a lot of ways, I think we do kind of get used to these characters. Like, to me, um, there is no other Black Widow. That is Scarlett Johansson. So in some, especially in the earlier iterations with the OGs, I think that they did become synonymous with these characters. And I understand, after 10 years of playing a character, and it being so time consuming, you do want to move on and try different creative paths. And Chris Evans, I think he's made some smart choices. I What was it? That the Knives movie, Knives Out, was a great movie, and his role in it was really good. I'm looking forward to see what else he does, because he really hasn't done a lot since he left Captain America. And I understand just taking some time to breathe and find that next big juicy role. Um, you know, Robert Downey Jr. has the Sherlock series, and he's more into producing and stuff like that now. So I'm interested. I get what, so I understand what she's saying. I think I'm with Samuel L. Jackson. I kind of have a problem with him saying that they're not movie stars, because Chadwick Boseman was a movie star, before. Now, were all his movies blockbusters? No, but he
He was an
was
actor. I would just go ahead.
you'll say he was an actor more than a
Yeah,
movie star.
I would say he was an actor. He wasn't a movie star, but I will say he was an actor. He was a great actor, but not a
But
movie star.
okay, and I could go with that. And I think Black Panther was the role that probably, and I caught myself, because I think Black Panther was his quote unquote A-list turn, even though he was one of those actors who kind of reminds me of a DiCaprio, who was always very particular about the roles that he played. Very peculiar. But Angela Bassett, she's a fucking movie star. You know, there's no denying that. She's not just an actor. She was a movie star long before Marvel. So I think that, I hope, and I like the movies, and I can agree that some of them become a little bit redundant, um, and some of them are like, okay, just something to get me through the series, to see the stories that you're trying to tell. But I still think that, um, I hate the rap that people get that just because you're in a superhero movie, you're not a real actor or you're not a real movie star, or that one has to give way for the other, I guess. So even though I'm not an actor, I guess I get a little bit protective of that. I think, if you're in the business and you're doing something that you love and you're making good money at it, and, not everybody is going to be a DiCaprio or, and I get it. You don't necessarily want to be typecast. So I guess I understand both sides. I see both sides of that coin. I guess is what I'm saying. Hmm. All right. Speaking of movie stars, Will Smith, Emancipation. He's re-entering the spotlight. Emancipation comes out in about a week. Are you going to see it? Are you going to watch it?
I haven't even seen a trailer.
I haven't seen the trailer. But so are you going to watch it though?
I haven't seen a trailer.
Okay, so go to YouTube later and watch the trailer. But here's
No, that's my answer. You not getting my answer?
I think I'm slow, so I think I'm starting to pick up on your answer. Okay, is it now? So here's my next question: is it because you're still mad at Will Smith, you're off of Will Smith, or you just don't want to see a slavery movie, or all of the above?
I'm not still mad at Will Smith. I'm like, Will Smith is fine. Like, I mean, you did what you did and we moving on. Like, what the fuck? Like, but I don't know. Like, I just, is it a slavery movie?
Yeah.
It is?
Yep.
Who else is in it?
Gosh, I for I want to say, is it Sam Worthington? Um, Directed by Antoine Fuqua. Um,
Oh
it's
my.
getting some pretty decent reviews. And
Well, it's
it's
Will Smith. Will Smith has always been most of his movies
um
have always been great.
yeah, he it's Oscar bait, of course, and they say it was a tough decision in light of the slap of whether or not to keep the original release date, but that is something that they decided to do. So I he went on Trevor Noah on the Daily Show, and he actually talked about it. He's talked about, he didn't make it about, Chris Rock not accepting his apology. He just said it. He really hasn't said anything else about that since the time when he mentioned that he'd apologized and Chris said he wasn't ready to talk. It was more or less about why he did what he did, and he was just like, hurt people, and he's still sorry. He understands if people aren't quite ready um, to accept him back, or if they're not quite ready to watch the movie because he's in it and all of that. So he was very contrite. And of course, for some people, that still wasn't good enough. And I'm going by what I said before. Um, I still don't think we should write him off because of his worst public mistake. We're all only human, and it was bad. It was egregious. I've always said the run up, you get done up, shouldn't have happened on TV like that, if at all. But like you said, he did what he did, and I think it's time to move on. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean,
Ben,
we can say that for people who aren't traumatized by certain things in their past, but for people who were triggered with that public slap, you know what? Continue feeling the way you feel and don't support anything that he does until you feel, that you can look at him without seeing that that assault that he did on national TV.
and that's true. You, like you said, you're entitled. Everyone's entitled to their feelings around it. At this point, for whatever reasons it triggers you. Who am I to say what is in someone else's psyche? Um, but yeah, and I still say, if that slap is still triggering to you at this point, if seeing Will Smith is still triggering to you at this point, then your issues go deeper than that slap and Will Smith. And I hope that you are seeking some help for that. And I'm not trying to be glib or funny or crass about that. I seriously mean that. But Ben Foster is in the movie.
Oh,
Who
I
else?
love him.
Uh, Charmaine Benoit. Yeah. So it's not Sam Worthington, but Ben Foster, Paul Ben Victor. Ooh, I like him. So yeah, I think I'm gonna check it out.
Well,
I'm
you
a
let me
little
know.
I'm a little off the slavery thing, but I know even
Hey, it's
before
part of
this.
our history. We got to acknowledge that. It's
Oh
a big
yeah,
part of our
but
history.
yeah, and I'm not saying I'm off of it. I don't like that. I don't want to learn about it because I'm always, I'm not one of those people who ignore stuff. It's just it seems like there's been just an overload of movies and shows, um, you know, about that.
Watch that and then go watch The Woman King again.
Yeah, it seems like there's
Cleanse
a
your palate.
it seems like we get a lot of a lot of the movies that they've been making for us have been a lot of trauma porn, I guess, and I'm kind of off of that a little bit. But it's also one of those movies that was on my list long before that even happened. Like when I first heard about it, I'm like, okay, so I am gonna watch it, and I'll talk to you about it. I'm not saying we'll do it on the show, but just I think that would be a cool conversation. Okay, so also moving on to one of those things. Speaking of trailers, did you see the trailer for Indiana Jones? Are you an Indiana Jones fan?
Hell no.
Oh my god! What? Oh my gosh, Tammy, you just
Mm-mm. No.
why did you slap
No.
me like that? You just cut my heart out and
No.
you ripped it out. Okay,
No.
fine.
I'm
You've never
sorry, but I'm slashing. I'm sorry, Eddie. But with
you've
that,
never
I'm slashing. I'm slashing. I ain't even
you've
saying sorry. We slashing.
you've never seen
Like
it. You've never seen an Indiana Jones
no,
movie.
I have seen all the Indiana Jones movies. You asked me if I was a fan of Indiana Jones, and I said hell no.
You've seen all the movies, but you're not
And
a fan.
I'm not. And the only reason why I saw all the movies is because my mom is a huge Harrison Ford fan and she loves the Indiana Jones franchise. So I have watched it multiple times with my mother. I got her the box set when, VHS was still a thing. Uh,
Damn, dog,
now I mean, think I'd be like, waste of my
You didn't
fucking
even
money, yo.
update it for DVDs. You just kept it with the VHS. Does she
No,
still
that's how like back in the day it was
does she
when
even still have the
VHS.
VCR to watch the box set? Damn, dog.
Yeah, like that's when VHS was still a thing, and I bought her the box set, and then I think I ended up buying her the Star Wars DVD set when the last one came out, and now both of those are basically obsolete. But no, I'm not a fan though. I've seen all of them, but I'm not a fan. So if I had to choose between, and the last one was crap, it was trash.
It was.
And so if I had to choose, I no, I no, I didn't even know he was doing another one. Isn't he old as dirt?
Yeah, this one is more or less about his goddaughter. It looked interesting. I actually liked the trailer, and I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan, so it
Oh,
was.
no longer his son.
Nah, I think
Sorry.
they kind of left that by the wayside. But I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan, and so um oh gosh, and that Hal Holbrook is in not yeah Boyd Holbrook is in it, and I love him. So I was like, oh, okay, this is definitely interesting. And Bridge, Phoebe Waller Bridge is in it. So yeah, I was like, okay, but I was on it when I knew that they were making another Indiana Jones. Um, Also, I know you're just dying to see the latest iteration of the Transformers. And
Saw
God
that
help
trailer. I'll be
God
there.
help me. The trailer actually looked interesting. I was off Transformers. Like I was like, oh gosh, because Bumblebee was fucking horrible. But I'm like, I think Michael Bay is off the franchise. I don't know, but I was like, damn it, Transformers, this shit looks interesting. Like, and not just wait till it comes on streaming interesting, but I'm like, this shit looks like go to the movies
Yep.
interesting. So I was
Transformers:
like,
Rise of the Beast, y'all. Rise of the
yeah.
Beast.
So I was like,
2023,
fuck.
baby.
Look, just when you think you're out, they pull you back in.
I'm all in.
Um,
I'm all in for that. That's
okay.
like Fast and the Furious. You know how you say like Fast and the Furious is like you gonna watch it, you just can't stop. That's
My
Transformers for
guilty
me.
pleasure.
Yeah, like I'm gonna
Yeah.
watch it. I just can't stop. No matter if it's bad or not, I'm gonna be there every time.
Yeah, Bumblebee was just fucking bad. And I love all the actors in Bumblebee. And I was like, oh, and yeah, okay. Did you see the docu series that has everyone talking from the from ocean to ocean? the trailer for Harry and Meghan's docuseries.
I didn't know it was out. I gotta go watch it. Let me put a note down.
Yeah, the trailer. So it looks good. I'm definitely going to watch the docuseries. You
This is
know,
basically showing like them getting kicked out of the family.
it's showing the behind the scenes, a lot of stuff we didn't know. They talk about their relationship from the beginning to now. I'm sure that they are going to talk about them leaving the family and all of that. Yeah, yeah, it looks like they're not holding back. And there's a
Well,
part in it. She goes,
never held back. He's the one that
yeah,
does.
and uh she was like, well, who better to tell our story than us? And I'm like, oh shit. So yeah. But Will and Kate are here in the States this week,
Boo.
and they were pissed because it came out the same time as their trip, and they said that it was released on purpose to overshadow their trip. And somehow, I guess
I
it's
wish it
Megan,
did. Go ahead. Go ahead,
and somehow
Megan and
it's
Harry.
Megan and Harry's fault that they got booed courtside at the Boston Celtics game. They said it was so bad that when they put them on Jumbotron, they had to hurry up and take them off of the Jumbotron because they were being booed so loudly. I was like, well, Boston, I think their sports fans are only second to Phillies in rudest category. So, yeah. And then they said that they just start chanting USA. And I'm like, oh, God, you got a little Boston. And then I was like, oh, they were having the ancestors from the revolution came back. Like the ghost of Samuel Adams and all them were
Oh my gosh. I
um,
think I think like so what the British don't because when I listened to one of the there's this British radio station that I listen to on YouTube, and one of the hosts, I just love him. He's just so real. And like one thing that he said was he was like how in Britain, like there's still way more people who are loyal to the crown than who aren't, right? That's the reason
mhm,
why they're not at the point where they're gonna abolish the crown
the monarchy.
yeah,
Yeah.
the monarchy, right? They're not gonna abolish the monarchy because it's like 60-40 still, right? There's still more people that support it. But also what they definitely need to realize is that in America we a different breed. Okay. And you kicked out one of our own. And you kicked her out because she was black. So we have fully accepted Harry into the fold, and you can't get him back. So bringing
And
over
especially
your
black people, like we haven't, they don't
yeah
even address that layer of it. Like, oh no.
yeah like we fully like we all about Meghan and Harry. And so William and Kate, like I think that the whole entire controversy that happened between Meghan and Harry finally fully and officially leaving the royal family did something very detrimental to the reputation of the British monarchy in America, especially when it comes to pitting brother against brother. Because even though, of course, they love each other, but you definitely hear the conflict between them. In what's going on and everything like that. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, heck yeah, you're going to get booed because you're the enemy, because we have accepted your brother completely into our fold, and you treated him and his children and his wife like shit. So yes, boo them galore.
Yeah. And it also comes on the heels of uh like literally on the heels of another instance where the British press have to cover and try to make it seem like that Meghan and Harry were not right or correct in what they alluded to about the rampant racism within the institution and the British monarchy. And you would have to have been dumb, deaf, and blind not to have seen it before, but I think we were all just so enamored with Princess Diana and Harry. Um, and there were people who liked William, but
There were a lot of people who liked William. Don't we?
I know, but to me, Harry has always been the more popular one.
Yeah,
And to the one that to the people, to most
William was
people, Harry
popular
was
when
always
he was.
more, he was more affable and charismatic and more popular. Like Harry was the one that people definitely said, besides the fact that William looked more like Diana, Harry was the one everyone always said was truly Diana's son.
That's
Like,
true, but what I will say is that William was more popular than Harry up until he lost his looks. When William was younger, he was very popular because he was a very good looking kid and he was a good looking young adult. Like in his teenage years, he was very, very good looking, while Harry was like this redhead kid who hadn't fully grown into his looks yet. And but as William started to lose his hair and he started to be revealed on, like, his character slowly, that's when Harry started to build in his popularity and William started to lose it. Cause even when I talked to my friends who live in Britain, like they were like, oh, it was William, 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 and then they were like, fuck William, Harry, Harry, Harry. And they like flipped over and now they're all about Harry. And I was just like, oh, okay. But I saw the change. Like I definitely saw the change from William to Harry on the popularity. But now, yeah, Harry surpassed his brother. That's why he's so jealous of him.
yeah. And also, like, and with him leaving, you no longer have anyone to scapegoat.
Mm-hmm.
And and they said all those scandals, especially the Vegas scandal, where those pictures mysteriously leaked of him and his friends just wilding out in Vegas. They said that was to cover up a bigger Williams scandal that was about to come out. So every time Harry was thrown under the bus or did something in the media, not saying he didn't do it, but those times when because we all know he even says that was him in Vegas. But the question everyone asks is like, well, how the fuck is this getting out? So all the times that shit came out about Harry that shouldn't have come out, that you're like, well, how the fuck did this get out? It was because they were sacrificing him to protect something even worse or some scandal that William was embroiled in. Um, and it makes sense. But what I was getting at is so also while they were en route to the United States, it turns out that William's godmother, who was a former waiting and waiting for the Queen, who had recently become Camilla's second, they were hosting apparently Camilla, or my bad, Queen Camilla, because they took the consort
Queen
part out.
consort. They took the consort off?
I think they did. Like she's officially a queen. That was
Damn.
one of the deals that he made with his mom.
Oh.
So anyway, Queen Camilla,
You won't
whatever.
accept the black woman, but you accept the divorced woman who was his mistress for years. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Eddie.
Yeah,
I apologize.
yeah, no, no, no. So this woman, she there apparently Camilla does a lot for women's charities, women's rights, and abuse victims, and all this or whatever. So they were having a thing at Buckingham Palace, and the lady who heads up this program called Sister Space, which is the only safe space for Black, Afro British abused women, victims and survivors. The only safe space in all, not London, but apparently all of England. One of them, she was at she was invited, right? So the woman sees her and just starts harassing her. Where are you from? Who are your people? How'd you get here? Blah. And the lady's like, I was born here. You were born where? Like this whole thing. And it was just like, wow. Like when you read the exchange and you read the article, it's like, what the fuck? Said that the woman just came up to her and touched her hair, moved her hair to see her name badge, and was like, oh. And she goes, what do you mean, where am I from? I'm from here. No, where are you from? Like, where are you literally from? I was born in England. I am a British national. Well, I see this is going to be quite difficult to find out. You don't even know where you're from. Like, you know, and so then the lady was like, I was born. No. And she's like, my father is, my parents came here 50. Oh, now we're getting somewhere. So where are you? Like, just literally going in on this moment about where she's from. So The lady, she didn't name names, but it's so funny when she didn't name names, everyone pretty much knew who the fuck she was talking about. So it didn't take them long to figure out who this exchange happened with. Um, and the palace, they tried to downplay it for a little while. They didn't even get away with that for a full day. By the end of the day that the story had come out, the woman had been relieved of her duties as the. I think they changed the name from the ladies in waiting to something pretentious, but so she had been relieved of her duties, and she was so terribly sorry that there's this misunderstanding. And so, of course, they don't acknowledge full on racism. But then Britt Williams' team made it a point to say that he was not there, but also, that this woman is his godmother. Like, yeah, so it was bad. And so by the time they landed, all of that had broken. And yeah, it was just really bad. But, they thought they would come to America and prove how much, Americans love them more than they love his brother, and it would just be this great trip and all. But so, um, but yeah, that's cool. Did you hear Aaron Taylor Johnson is, speaking of British, Aaron Taylor Johnson is supposedly, according to the streets, the front runner for the Bond role. Yay or nay? Was he on our list?
He was not.
What you
I
think?
love Aaron. I love Aaron Taylor Johnson. Um, I think he's an underrated actor. Um, really, really cool. Kick ass is his most well known role that he's played. But and he was also in Bullet Train, right? One of the twins.
Hmm.
I'm okay with it. I'm good.
I can see it. Like, and
Yeah.
and you know what makes me see it? Gosh, he was in something else, but he is an underrated actor, and he is very good. But what makes me see it is I go back to, he was one of the twins, but he was one of the more well dressed of the twins. Like, he was in that three-piece suit, then he took it off. When he took off the jacket, he still had on that vest. And
Yeah.
so I see that part of him being the dressed up version, but I also see him being able to kick ass just because of movies like Kick Ass, and also his role in Bullet Train, where he did have to kick ass and, figure stuff out. And so I could see it. Like, and I think that helps me envision him more because, James Bond is this smooth, suave, debonair. Like, we get the ass kicker, but but you also like the debonair parts of Bond when he dresses up in that suit, and he does that seduction dance, and he just goes about his man horse ways. Because let's face it, he's a man whore, and I'm okay with it. I am, but so I'm good with that. I'm good with that. So I can see that. I'm not mad at that. I'd like to see who else is in the running, but I'm not mad at Aaron Taylor Johnson. I think that's not a bad idea. Um, okay, music. Heading on to music. It's a lot. K-pop, the Broadway show. Yay or nay?
Nay.
It seems to be a big hit. It's getting a Broadway recording
I
album.
am sure K-pop is a big deal right now.
Um, but you wouldn't want, so if you had free tickets, you win a free trip to New York, and
You just said it's free tickets. Of course, I'm going to go for free tickets. But if they ask me, hey, we are going to give you tickets to any Broadway show, would I choose K-pop? No.
okay, all right, I can see that. Um, the Taylor Swift Ticketmaster debacle is being investigated by the DOJ. I didn't realize that Ticketmaster and Live Nation had actually merged until this happened, which it makes sense now. But it's also a horrible thing that when you can't get shit, why shit sells out so fast on those websites, on Ticketmaster or Live Nation, Block, whatever, and then the only place that you can go to find tickets. So generally, my go-to ticket place is StubHub because I know that I'm not going to find shit on Ticketmaster, um, StubHub, or any of those aftermarket sites. And for Taylor Swift, they charge an arm and a leg, um, and other shows too. So I think they should, and I guess this just goes to show why monopolies are bad. So, I guess you're sad because you can't go see Taylor Swift now, huh?
Yes, my heart is broken. I'm crying.
So, but I, I thought it would be cool, and it would have been cool to take my goddaughter to go, but yeah, no, I'm not giving up my kidney and her kidney to go. Um, Grammy nominations. Did you see them? They're out. BTS was nominated for three, along with Coldplay,
Are they
and
nominated with Coldplay?
they are nominated with Coldplay for My Universe. So that is Best Pop Duo or Group Performance. They're nominated by themselves for their video, the long form video, for the Best Is Yet to Come, the Yet to Come special that they did in the desert in Vegas, where they did the four new songs, but they didn't do Run BTS at that time. And then they're also nominated for writing R.E.M. Sugar and J Hope on Coldplay's album. So they have three nominations. So, and looking at it, they might stand a chance for Best Pop Duo, but they also have Post Malone and Doja Cat, and then Unholy with Sam Smith and Kim Petras, which was just released right under the deadline. So I think those are probably going to be the big three contenders for that category. Beyonce topped all nominees with, I think she had nine. And I did not know. I'm not surprised that Beyonce is the most nominated artist in Grammy history. She's tied. Guess who she's tied with?
Who?
Her husband. Jay-Z has been nominated for 88 fucking Grammys. I had
I
no
did
clue.
not know that.
I did not know that either. When they were like Beyonce's tied, I'm like, oh, okay, who's she tied with? Jay motherfucking. Now, don't get me wrong. I love me some Hope. But I'm like, he's been nominated that many fucking times.
Damn. Did not
I
know that. That's
I
surprising.
did not know that either. So I was like, okay, so I already know the answer to this question. Are you gonna watch the Grammys?
No.
Bad
But I'll be
Bunny.
on YouTube later though. I'll be on YouTube later.
Well, yeah. Bad Bunny. Shout out to him. He was
Oh.
nominated also for Album of the
Is he
Year,
gonna
and
perform? Did they say he's gonna perform?
I don't know. They really haven't announced performers yet.
Oh, because Bad
Um,
Bunny's album was
is
amazing.
It's amazing.
Absolutely
So
amazing.
so here's some of the Album of the Year noms. ABBA, who cares? Adele, 30. Un Verano Senti, my Spanish is horrible. Bad Bunny, Renaissance, Beyonce. Good Morning Gorgeous, Mary J. Blige. In These Silent Days, Brandy Carlisle. Music of the Spheres, Coldplay. So that's, yeah. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, Kendrick Lamar, Special Lizzo, and Harry's House, Harry Styles. All of those are big contenders. ABBA and Brandy Carlisle are the dark horses because the Grammys like to do weird shit. Um, but I could see honestly, Good Morning Gorgeous is probably a long shot for Mary J. Blige, to be honest. But any of those others, I could probably see winning.
I'm going for Bad Bunny.
Going for Bad Bunny.
I'm going for Bad Bunny. Like his
Yeah,
CD was so good. There's so many that I favorited on off his latest album.
yeah. So
Though Harry
he
Styles, don't sleep on Harry, but Bad
Harry,
Bunny did his thing.
yeah, like I liked a lot of those albums. I really did. So I'm not surprised. I'll probably do what I normally do. Wait till the show is pretty much mostly over and go back and fast forward through all the commercials, or just go back and watch the performances. And speaking of K-pop, going back to something earlier, word on the streets is you were asking me before we get to this part. So word on the streets, and it's totally unconfirmed, but it was a rumor, and God, I pray that it's not true. Is that J Lo is supposed to be doing a Whitney Houston tribute? And I'm like, that I know the streets is lying. The streets has got to be lying. There's no way in hell.
Yeah. If the streets are not lying, Eddie, I'm just saying, are you ready to burn it down? I'm just saying. Like,
Girl,
I just
we
need to
gonna
know
set
you're gonna be
fire
my
to
ride or
the
die right
motherfucking
now.
block.
Okay.
Like I love me some J Lo, but her vocal range is not the best.
Not for no Whitney.
Not for Whitney. Like,
And
dude,
also the fact of saying Whitney couldn't dance. So what you doing on stage?
thank you. And also saying that if you wanted someone non-black to do this, Adele,
Oh,
Adele,
Adele.
Adele, like,
But
yeah,
if
bruh.
not, they could have got you know who would have been great? For the woman who played Harriet Tubman.
Oh, Cynthia Erivo.
Yes, she got range.
Like, there's so many, and again, no shade to J Lo, but baby, that's not the lane. And again, this is completely
Dela's a
unconfirmed,
performer. She ain't a singer.
but
Let's
I
just put it
can
out
just
there.
say, yeah. So I hope the streets are lying. But one thing the streets are not lying about is, since she's all loved up with the love of her life again and they're married, she was talking about that she wanted to remake Jiggly or whatever horrible movie they did together. No, baby, just have Ben write y'all a new movie. Don't taint your love story. Don't taint your second chance with that horrible movie.
Ben has so increased, his artistic abilities. So I agree
Yeah.
with you, Eddie. Just let him write y'all a movie.
Just have Ben write y'all another love story, or another movie, baby, because that ain't it. That wasn't it then, and it sure as hell ain't
That
it
ain't
now.
it. Unless
Don't
y'all
bring
want to
that.
make a movie of what really went down the first time y'all were together.
Thank you. Like, look, don't have that bad juju in your life. Don't invite that bad juju back into the life, girl. Um. Okay, so word on the streets, K-pop, Bobby leaving Icon, yay or nay? There was a half-ass denial by the company, but you and I talked about this earlier
We did.
in the year. I wouldn't be surprised if he did, and I think he needs to.
So what I will say to that is Bobby is um one like I would say Bobby is the number one artist in Icon. I think that he is the one that can make longevity of his career. Because besides Bi, who, oh my God, have you listened to his new CD?
Yes, I love Bi. Like,
Oh,
I did not know Bi. Like, we had, because I'm more on the soloist, so I'll
mm-hmm.
hear a group or you'll recommend a group. And I think I was like, "Hey, did you hear this song by Bi?" And you're like, "That's Icon's former leader." Like, I knew that he had gotten kicked out, but I never put two and two together. And I'm like,
Yeah,
"What the fuck?"
but
But yeah, I love Bi.
yo,
Love him.
just on repeat. But I think that because Bobby is one of, and I'm gonna say it, Bobby is one of the best rappers in K-pop, period. One of the best rappers. And it is really sad that he's in a group whose popularity has gone down. He has not been fully able to really showcase his skills. And so they downplay how talented he is. And I think he really has that talent. I would say I'm support of Bobby completely leaving YG, going to a smaller label and really showcasing his skill the way that Bi has been able to with 131 online.
Yeah.
But I
Um,
don't want him at 131 online. Like, I want you to go to a different label and showcase your skill, because I don't want you to be in the shadow of Bi, because he's just as talented, and people need to realize that once he sheds his, idol life.
yeah. So I'm on board with that, and not even like an I am where I am personally didn't resign, but he's still a part of Monster X. I think I think he just needs to let it go because Icon. And it's sad to say, I don't know if we should, we talk, like I said, we've already talked about, go back and listen to our Icon special. And we talk about all the things that we think about that group and
Mhm.
just, but I hope, unfortunately, I hope that the rumors are true. Fortunately or unfortunately, I really do hope. And I think it's time for him to,
Their contract
uh,
is up in June, and I don't see YG even offering for them to all resign as a group. I just don't see it, because although their popularity is huge in Japan, so they're still very, very popular in other Asian countries, but in Korea their popularity has just decreased a lot. Um, but yeah, I just don't see YG really offering them a full contract. Um, but then again, YG, they weird because they be going years without a comeback. But
and I think that's so stupid because the way K-pop is, with all these groups constantly. And I'm not saying you have to have a content like the groups who do comebacks every week or every 2 months. Okay, I'm over it. Just release a full album and be done with it. You know, um, but you need to wait so long between comebacks, especially with the turnover in K-pop. Unless you're like BTS or one of the bigger groups, 17, got 7, like with that just dedicated fan base that's going to wait for you. EXO, then that to me that makes no sense. But
But even with
whatever.
that, like even with BTS and them, like we have to realize like it is only since BTS has surpassed their stardom in the Western culture in where their comebacks are less and less. But
Yeah,
before that, they were
they
chugging it
were.
out the way that all the other groups were, like, at least 2-3 times a year. That's why they've been constantly working for the last almost 10 years for some members. Same thing with 17. They chugging it out as well and repackaging and stuff. Monster X, EXO's only thing is they took a break because they
Because
have to
they're
do
in the
their military.
military.
Yeah, the military service. So YG, like I agree with you. I don't understand the business concept of doing that, because then that is the reason why they went down in level on their earnings, and they're not earning what they can because it's so long. You're not taking advantage of the popularity of some of your groups, and they only able to focus on like one group at a time.
And the only reason I can think of that is if they have one of those upside down contracts like Got Seven did, where they end up making more money. Um,
Mm, yeah,
and so to kind of offset having to pay them, you shelve them. That's the
I
only
never
thing
I
I
never
can.
thought of that, but I could see that being the case. I could definitely
That's the
see that being the case.
that's the only reason I can think of, because like I said, in K-pop, and especially the more we learn about it, the way you have these groups coming back all the time. And like I said, you have a few exceptions who now don't have to churn out music every, 2 to 3 times a year, maybe twice, whatever. But with the exception of, you see how often these groups come back and redo and they go through this era and all of that is kind of, I don't understand it. But speaking of eras, I'm excited for the name chapter for TXT. Looking at that video, I'm interested to see what's coming next for them, and I hope it's better than Thursday's Child. I really do. I know there were some songs we liked on Thursday's Child, but it wasn't our favorite.
Look,
Um,
I'm just gonna say, sometimes not everything's a hit. Okay, everybody
yeah,
goes through a slump. TXT
yeah.
went through a slump, but they're gonna come back stronger, just like 17 did. You remember with Attica?
Oh God, Attica had me
Okay,
so,
and then
and
when
I wasn't even
17
all
came
in.
back,
Yeah, I
17 came
wasn't
back
even
strong.
all in on 17 at the time, and I'm like, oh God, no. But yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Okay. So Dawn and Iuna broke up. I was never really a big fan of both of either. Like, I'm not saying they were bad. I just never really got into either one of them. But I know that's a big deal for the K-pop fans. They were just heartbroken, and Dawn was apparently receiving all this horrible hate mail for breaking Iuna's heart, and she finally had to come out and say, "Yo, back up off of them" and stuff. So yeah,
I mean, they were like y'all. They were
they
together
were
for so
together for.
long. They literally changed. They, in a way, went against the norm. And I wanted to say they, changed the game on dating in K-pop, but what we realized is they didn't, because K-pop stars do not date publicly still. Like, they date each other and they still don't come out publicly and do it. And it's kind of like you were waiting for it, right? Because um it was like people were saying like, oh, but weren't they just engaged, and weren't they supposed to get married? See, this is just crazy. And I was just like,
But
no, it's a
relationships run its
relationship.
course, and they were they
Yeah,
were
they were together
together
for
for they
years.
were together for 6 years, and relationships run their course. Just like you don't marry everyone you date, and I wish them both the best. I mean, I really
Yes.
do. And I think K-pop fans, and like we've talked about before, I understand it from the standpoint of privacy, because I'm really big on privacy. But I also think that if you want to date publicly, then you should be able to do so without having the rabid craziness of K-pop stands. So it's a double-edged sword. I get it, but one in this case, one has nothing to do with each other. It's not like they were together for 6 weeks and then Um, and then it ended. So whatever. Um, YG. Wait, weren't we just talking about this? YG, aren't they? That's Icon and Bobby, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So why do they want 50 million different versions of NCT? Like it,
No, no,
they're
no.
talking
That's
about.
SM. That's SM.
Oh, okay. So SM
Hmm.
wants 50 million different versions of NCT. Like they're talking about NC Saudi Arabia, NCT Japan. I'm like, really? Why can't you just come up with groups for these places and just give them their own name? Like, what the fuck?
So
Like, really?
I'm just laughing because it's funny, but NCT is 23 members. Okay, they added 2 members in 2020. Those 2 new members that they added in 2020 have still not been put into a unit. So they're not working because they haven't been put into a unit. Like NCT Dream had a concept and then they changed it because the members became so popular that they decided not to like switch them out when they aged out of being teenagers like they were supposed to be. So now that's a stapled group. Then you have NCT 127, you have NCTU, you have Wavy, and those are very popular. NCT is their biggest group in SM right now.
And my
Like
favorite is
it,
Wavy. Like, I need a full on Wavy comeback. Fuck a
it's come
Lucas.
they're bringing it.
Like,
They're gonna be bringing it next year is what they're talking about, where Wavy is gonna have a full comeback, and this will be the first comeback where they officially show that Lucas is not coming back to Wavy. Um but yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like, I think like you don't need extra NCT units, but they make money for every single one that they create. And that's what the concept of SM is. They're making money off of every unit that they create. So we got to think of it as in they're just creating a new group. They're working them to the bone, and it's kind of crazy on how much they're working the members of NCT, because like Mark is in every single unit.
and then they're talking about because I guess they'll all have to fill, except for, I don't know. I guess they're going to do it before. When is Kai's military service? Because
Kai
they all,
next
yeah,
year.
because they all, well, so I guess before Kai has to go to the military, because they said Super M, they announced the Super M comeback. So I guess before, once my boy Bacon and
So
Tate,
I think they're just talking because because Taemin had those issues in the military, they don't have an exact date on when he's going to be released.
yeah, well, they announced it. They said Super M comeback. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Maybe,
you can announce it, but are you replacing Kai and Lucas? Like,
well,
because
and that's
Kai
what I'm
has to go
saying.
in June, and Taemin I think doesn't come out until like September, and Bacon comes out in March.
And then Lucas has just been dumped from SM, although I guess unofficially. Okay. Well, real quick. So BTS is a lot going on. Happy birthday to Jin. Speaking of military, his birthday is today, tomorrowish. The time change and all that. He is officially 30, right? Like in real, not
Yes.
Korean years, but in real years, he's 30.
Yes, in international age, as they call it, yes, he's 30 years old.
Okay, so happy birthday to Jen. He'll officially be enlisting in about a week and a half. December 13th is his enlistment date. Um, so that's kind of sad. Makes me want to cry a little bit. But I'm curious to see who'll be the next one to enlist. And then
It'd have to
they've
be
just had,
Sugar.
huh?
Sugar.
Uh, yeah. But to meet the timeline of 2 years that they said, they're all probably in 2023. By the summer of 2023, I think every single member will have enlisted. And that's just me trying to see how they're going to do the timeline, unless they're going to just drag it out throughout the year and then the end of the year, the end of 2025. But we'll see. Anyway, congrats to J Hope and the entire band. J Hope, did you watch his Mama performance?
Nope.
Um, you weren't a big fan. I'm not surprised because you weren't a big
A
fan of
fan of
his
the album, so I
album
wasn't
stuff.
interested in the performance.
Um, but they cleaned up at the Mamas, individually and as a group. You know, of course, they
I
won
saw
all the
that.
big things, and then Sugar won for that production and stuff with Psy. I was not a big fan of that song. And then J Hope won some individual awards as well. JK performed Dreamers at the World Cup opening ceremony. Did you like the song?
I did not. And I actually listened to it. I really tried. Like I was just like, let me go back into like, listening to them. And I'm gonna be honest, it was mediocre to me.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about it. It to me it was the perfect fluff event song. It was great for the moment, for what it was supposed to do. I guess it did what it was supposed to do. Um, you know, uh, but I wasn't. It's not a song outside of me just watching the performance and then kind of listening to it outside of the performance to see what I thought about it. It's not a song that I was crazy about. It's not a song that I would just put on repeat or add to. I might add it to a workout playlist just to work out and be like, okay, it's something in the background, but it's not a song that I just have to hear. Like if I say, hey, I'm not going to say them now because they're problematic and would probably start playing the music right now. But if I told any two of those problematic machines to just play BTS, and that song came on, I would be like, skip.
Hmm.
So,
But I wouldn't
now,
skip left. Like I really liked Left and Right.
oh yeah,
Um, and I realized that like it like I did that. Like I was like, play BTS, and Left and Right was the first song that they played. And I was just like, I like this song. I like
it
this song.
grows
Before
on you.
can we
The
can we get to
video,
the meat? Can we get to the
yeah,
meat?
yeah, I'm about to get there.
Go.
If you listen to Left and Right without the video, it's great. The video kind of throws it off because the video is trash. The meat. Okay,
The
so
meat.
this is a long one, and it is because it's the last one of the year, so we're making it good. The meat. RM finally released Indigo, and that shit is
Was fire.
fire. That shit was so
Yo,
good.
so
Like
good.
and the more I listen to it, the more I like it. It's so nuanced
Like,
and so
and it doesn't matter which song, like the skill set on why he is one of the best, and like just listening to his flow, like was just absolutely amazing. Like I loved it, like absolutely loved it. Like this, yes, RM did his thing. And I'm a little mad because I feel like even though like he really like, got on charts and everything like that, like I feel like there wasn't the fanfare that I feel RM deserved, because he put out an amazing solo album.
let me ask you a question. Does it seem like he, aside from Lollapalooza, okay, that aside, because that's a once a year thing and it just happened to coincide with that, so I understand that. But aside from Lollapalooza, does it seem like he's getting the same fanfare as J Hope got?
No.
I
No,
okay,
it's real chill. Like, and granted, RM and Sugar are the chill ones of it. And I think because I was thinking that I had that thought process, and I was like, I understand, because when you think of BTS in their rap line, you talk about RM, you talk about Sugar. J Hope is dance. So J Hope's album was about proving himself, right? So I understand the fanfare that went into it, because he had to set a bar for himself, right? Like he was going into a new realm. J Hope has never been known for his rap. Like nobody's talking about his skill and his lyrics and nothing like that. Like they'll talk about the other two, but they don't really talk about him. So he had to actually show what he could do as a rapper. And I definitely get that. Now, granted, wasn't a fan of it, but I can definitely see the fanfare that he's getting, because it was like he was establishing his career as a rapper when he's only been really known as the dancer. Not only known, but he's the dance machine of BTS. With RM, he didn't get the same fanfare. Like RM, like I feel like they were more chill back on it. It fits his personality because it's RM. Because I feel like RM got a genius comeback. On like he just chilling. I'm sure he's not even worried about the fact of he hasn't gotten the fanfare that J Hope has. May he probably requested it, but I wish he had, because it's just such an amazing, and to know his collaborations that I didn't even know. Like he got Erica Badu on his album.
And
What
okay,
the
so
fuck? And nobody's talking about the fact you got Erica Badu.
they are on the low. Like you have to go to the socials to see that. And I think maybe a lot of people who are not K-pop fans or aficionados or whatever, I think maybe when I and once you and he didn't have the hype up, and so like he was intentional. Like he released a letter, again on socials, that right before it came out, and he said that he was very intentional. He loved the whole album, and he couldn't pick a song, so he didn't have a lead off. That's why even when he announced it, he, because normally they'll announce the album is coming and then they'll drop a single. He didn't want that. He just, so he was like, he hopes everyone kind of flavors them and listens to them all the same and loves them equally. So, but when I saw the track list, I saw Erica Badu. And I'm like, oh, okay, so which song is he sampling? And I thought maybe he was sampling a Badu song. And I thought that was great in and of itself, because if you know Erica Badu, you know she's very particular about her music and her craft.
Yes.
And so just the fact that he would have been able to get a sample from her, I thought was kudos to you, right? Like, of all the people that surprised me, Mahalia surprised me. I love her. She's an up and coming British artist. I love her. She does not get enough props. So I was like, okay, but I know he, so that didn't surprise. So that I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I thought, okay, he's sampling a Badu song. Cool. That she released it. Great. That he got a new track with Badu. Girl, I was, and it's, I like, uh, yeah, yeah. And then she did a post where she lit candles. She paid homage to the ancestors. Korean. She went all Badu with it. I'll have to find it again and send it to you. But she congratulated him. And so he does have stuff out there. Like he did a tiny desk, and he was talking about how he did Yoon, and how she was supposed to be there for the tiny desk, but it didn't quite work out. But still, he was so honored that she was on the song, and and he had the background track. I wasn't surprised about Anderson .Paak, because they've become really good friends, and and all that kind of stuff. So I wasn't surprised to see him on there. Tableau, I wasn't surprised. Tableau said though, as soon as he called and said, hey, he was like, yeah, he was like, he didn't even listen to the song. He's just like, yeah, what you want me to do? I'm there. And I was like, well, that's Tableau, because he's just cool like that. Shout out to Epic High. So like his collaborators have been shouting it
Yo,
out.
did you know Tableau's a genius too?
Yeah, like I love Tableau. Like
I like, I kind of got into it with when Epic High came out with their that album part 1. But I like was reading on it, and I was just like, oh shoot, like Tableau was an actual genius. He was so much of a genius they didn't believe him on when he was in college, and that's how he got kicked out of his first label, because it was a whole scandal on they didn't actually believe him when he said that he was doing his bachelor's and his master's within like I think 2 years or something like that. It's crazy, but sorry, I thought like that just amazed me when I heard that was actual scandal. But go ahead.
yeah, so but and I don't know, like if you ask me my favorite song from this album, I I I would tell you whatever my mood is, or I would say whatever I'm listening to at the moment. I didn't think I would like Wildfire, because I saw the video. I saw clips from the video. I'm like, what is this? And but
Just
then
listen to the lyrics.
once you just listen to it,
Mm-hmm.
but I would probably say at the moment I love you, um, all day with Tableau. Like I'm just gonna go through the whole fucking thing. I love it, but I think change is the one that just kind of goes like, and everybody's like, hey, they want to kill like Army, whoever his ex is, they better hope that person's name never goes public because Army is coming for you. Army was already talking about who the fuck hurt RM, who the fuck hurt my Junie, like, but I love change, like it's just it. Ah, yeah, it's awesome. Um, and not comparing the two, but I love it just as much. And unlike, and you weren't crazy about J Hope's album. I love J Hope's album, and I love this, but I love it differently. It's like your kids. You know what they say? Like, how can you choose your favorite kids? I love you the same, but I love you differently. And I love this just as much as J Ho's album, but I love it differently. Like it fulfills a different mood. It fulfills a different, and it's kind of like we were talking about a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about Taylor Swift's Midnights and being Lemonade. The way he described it, I'm like, oh, so this is his Midnights. Like this is his diary of his 20s. From what he said, just the certain things that he's gone through over the past 10 years, well, especially the last 4 or 5 years. And so I was like, wow. And it just like just the lyrics and his writing ability and his rapping ability. And that's the one thing I just wish there was a little bit more. Like, I wish we just had a full song with nothing but RM flow, like just him going off. That would have been the piece de resistance. But as it is, it's pretty damn perfect. Okay, that's my take. Go. You're on.
No, you said it perfectly, except for the whole J Hope thing. Um,
And we felt differently about that. So
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
and
give you that.
but like I keep saying, I can fully understand why people really like J Hope. It just wasn't my style. It wasn't my taste. So I wasn't hyped on it. But with RM, if you've never like heard it before, I'm sure I've said it multiple times. Like, RM is my number one in BTS. Like, I like when I had to choose the one member who would be like my bias, my favorite, I chose RM Namjoon, and this is the reason why, because of his talent, his flow, just his chill. But one thing I will say, I'm co-signing everything you said. But in addition to that, what I'm going to say is listening to RM's solo album, you know what it does? I cannot wait. And I swear, if he does not give it to me before he enlists, I
Sugar.
need sugar. Because like let's put it out there. RM and Sugar, not just what like some of the best rappers in K-pop period, but I'm gonna go even a step further and say that Sugar's flow is one of the best that I have ever heard.
And I've
Period.
said it. I agree with you. And like from the standpoint of the type of music they make, where it's RM reminds me a lot of Drake. Um, and I'm not talking about the problematic Drake. I'm talking about just Drake on the talent versus the singing, the rapping, just what he has to say. Especially the earlier Drake when he was more introspective,
Mm-hmm.
when he first came out.
Yeah.
That Drake, especially the one Thank Me Now, Thank Me Later, and the one before that, the one with the weekend on it. My
I
favorite,
know.
and
Yeah, I know which ones you're
I
talking
can't think of the name of it right now, but so he reminds me of that era of Drake, just as far as his delivery and his style. And I've said it before. There are very few people, very few, who can hang with Eminem when it comes to, especially old school
about.
Eminem, when
Yes.
it comes to just the
Yes.
flow. Not even Jay Z, not Tupac. Eminem is in a class by himself when it comes to his
His flow.
wordplay and his flow. And
Yes.
Sugar has that flow where Eminem, at his peak, they say he could spit out like 60 words a minute or whatever and just go like, especially that Slim Shady when he would just get in a groove and he would just say all this shit and you have to rewind it to catch everything he says.
Mm-hmm.
That is Sugar. Like he's on that level of having that Eminem like flow. And I
Yes.
agree with you. Uh Sugar, I need you. Like you can't just leave me with Dechita. Dechita was a great fucking album. D2, Dechita was a great single. D2 was a great album. I need you to drop D3 before you leave me for 2 years.
before you leave us for a year and a half. Like,
Yeah, I need D3, whatever you're gonna call it. He said he's been switching up his style. I know he's been producing a lot for other people, but I hope I hope, and I know he's gonna leave us with a little something. Selfishly, don't make me have to go to Korea and get in trouble to hunt you
you
down.
try to pull them down, right?
Yeah.
What I will say is, I know you said like you wasn't a fan of that, right?
Hmm.
And I wasn't either, the song. But Sugar is Sugar no matter what song he's on.
Yeah, his
And
part I love the
yeah,
production, the lyrics,
and his
like
lyrics, his verse was absolutely phenomenal. First, he flowed in with the style that Psy had for that. But his verse was absolutely phenomenal. Like, I listened to it when without the subtitles. And then when it's Sugar, because Sugar, how he puts words together, and that is just amazing. So then I had to put the subtitles on to see exactly what he was saying. And even that, like, I was like, damn, that's deep. Like, even on a song like that, like, he's still killing it. So I do agree with you that I need Sugar, because RM was just phenomenal. And I'm more of a fan of the rap line than I am the vocal line of BTS. I just think their rap line is just absolutely, like, one, if not the best that we have. So I would just say, Sugar, you better bring your behind and bring me my D3 before you even think about enlisting in the military. That's all I'm gonna say.
okay, yeah. All right. One last thing before we wrap this up.
Hmm.
Just as far as that goes, with the whole BTS and who's going to do what. I am. Someone said it, and I was listening to, and they said the three that they were most anticipating, because they feel like they would have so much to say. Um, RM met and exceeded all expectations. Sugar, and the last one is JK. And I I had to think about that.
Eh,
I know V is going to do some artistic jazzy V shit. V's just going to do V shit. Okay. Jamin, I'm probably seeing is going. I think Jamin will have some stuff to say, but I'm look. I think it's going to be more of the pop. I can do this type thing, right? I'm not expecting every song from Jamin to just be this deep diary or dig in. But JK, if it's on the level of My Time, because if you go back and you just really listen to the words and read the lyrics of My Time, that's a deep song. Um, so I don't know. JK could be hit or miss. I'm interested to see what he would put out.
I
I know.
Yeah. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, no,
No,
no.
I'll finish.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, you know what, as you say that, yeah, I can agree with you on definitely RM, definitely Sugar, two of the most anticipated solo albums to come. When it comes to JK, if JK is on his Taylor Swift shit, I'm all for it. I need JK to come out with some truth. Give me an album full of truth, where you're not holding back to placate your conservative society that you grew up in. Sorry, that's just truth. Then I'm all for it, because I think that he can bring out some amazing work if he doesn't hold back. But what I get this feeling like he is gonna hold back and he's gonna play it safe. And if he plays it safe, I would be more interested in V, because I may not necessarily like V's flow, but when it comes to lyrics, he be deep too.
Oh
Like,
shit, yeah,
he got those deep, like you in a room crying in the corner, but by the end you got your therapy kind of deep.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so yeah, so that would
Yeah.
just be my anticipation. I would look for JK, but if he's gonna play it safe, then I'm looking for V and what V is gonna bring.
If JK is on his My Time, if he's in his My Time bag, um, and that's the one thing I can appreciate. And before we really wrap this up, is that they all have said it, and they have all lived up to it, where they're telling their truth. It's like the first, with the exception of Sugar, who just never seemed like he gave a fuck. Um, with, the one reason I wasn't really just crazy about all of their individual solo projects up until now is because I felt like they were still BTS and
Yes.
performing for BTS. Now I feel like love it or hate it, I got to know the real J Hope, or a piece of him.
Mm-hmm.
I got to know the real introspective RM. Like when he just like it thrills me to no end, but it shocks the shit out of me when he just starts cussing. And when you start your album off with "fuck that shit," you know you in for a ride. Those are the first
I
two.
feel like this was Nam June.
Yeah, like hello, it's nice to meet you. So I'm looking, and we've already known Sugar because, like I said, he's never given a fuck.
At all.
And so I'm looking forward to getting to know the rest. Okay, so we're going to leave that there because we could go on forever. Palette cleanser. Going back to Herschel Walker. So it turns out Herschel is Team Jacob. Just in case you didn't know, he had this grand epiphany in the
Oh,
middle of a rally
fuck.
about about vampires versus werewolves. And he figured out recently that werewolves could kill vampires. So instead of, he's changed his mind from being a vampire to now he
Being
wants
a
to be a
werewolf.
werewolf.
I heard
So
that.
he's Team Jacob. There you go. I agree with
Oh.
former President Obama. Uh, he can be wherever the hell he wants to be as long as it's not a
Not a
fucking
U.S.
U.S. senator.
senator.
So, yeah. And stay tuned. I know this is really long. Thank you for bearing with us, but this was our last one, and there was so much to get to. But stay tuned and figure out which of these stories makes our top news stories for the year. This may be the final rewind, but we still have our end of year wrap up series coming. So keep it locked and ready, and stay tuned on the socials and the website to figure out what's airing when. So that does it for this final episode of the Rewind for 2022. We'll see you again in 2023. But in the meantime, please be sure to like, listen, follow, comment wherever you listen to your favorite podcast because we're global like that now. You can also keep up to date on the latest in entertainment and pop culture news, as well as other amazing kernels of pop culture goodness at thepopcornwinedown.com. Follow us on Insta at the Popcorn Wind Down, Twitter too, if you're still there. That's it. That's the plug. Pop, 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 pop. Thank you as always. Until next time, I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy. Bye.
Peace. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.